What do you feel is a decent amount to spend on the first date?
Oh, I don't think it matters.
What? You don't think it matters?
No.
And what's your maximum amount of money you would spend on a first date?
Yeah, we've been diving around everywhere. We didn't even talk about that. What do you think is the maximum amount of money you should spend on the first date?
I think the most I would want to spend. I think 200 is the most I would like. That seems
Really?
like
200.
Yeah, but then if it didn't work out, I'm not gonna go on another date next week. I have to fucking budget that into my finance.
Right.
But also then you look at the things like, what if something happens? What if that money that I'm making, what if that no longer exists? Would you leave me because now I don't have that type of money? The answer, and then if you only consider me because I have that money, that would jeopardize our relationship. Do I really want to spend the rest of my life with this person?
What do you feel is a decent amount to spend on the first date?
Oh, I don't think it matters.
What? You don't think it matters?
No.
The internet is going to come for you heavily for this.
I think these girls that feel like the date that they take you on defines the man that they chose, they're full of crap. It's absolute BS. I think that it's a woman that's looking for the bigger, better deal that has the audacity to say, I can't believe you want to bring me to the Cheesecake Factory. A lot of these dating scammers that literally go on a date every night just to be able to eat something, you're lucky you're eating tonight because you probably can't afford to do it yourself. These men don't give money, they give bags these days, and you can't eat that. So be grateful that you got some food, and be grateful that a man put in enough effort to take you somewhere. And that's the problem. I personally feel like that's the problem with today's day and age. Like, a lot of men are becoming lazy in dating. They're becoming lazy in the pursuit because there's no appreciation for what they do. And now women have these super high entitlement level thoughts that they deserve to be brought to freaking Bora Bora on their first date. And it's like, who are you to even ask for that? What value have you brought to that man? It's audacity. It's the audacity for me.
Audacity for me.
And on top of that, you should want to be friends with the person that you're choosing anyway. If I don't like you, I'm not going on a trip with you. I'm sorry, but Instagram photos on.
Yeah, so it continues, but it cuts off there. What do you think about that? I know it's been a long time since either of us have been on the first date. So.
Yeah, so quick disclaimer. I think that this kind of depends on what level you're in. Because there is a lot of these high value men that, doesn't really matter. Like they can spend whatever they want, to them it doesn't matter. But I think for the majority, for the larger part of the population,
the general part of the population.
Sure, yeah, that they aren't, throwing money left and right, that they don't have, the high income where, for example, $200 on a first date. There's another video also that once we're done with this, if you can play it really quick, because it's like, how much do you spend on a first date? And the guy had said what, like $200, I think, was a minimum. And I mean, I don't know. I
think that was the most he said.
The most he was, but even then, I don't know anymore. And that's kind of what we were talking about before, man. Like, I hope that nothing happens with me and my current relationship, because it is rough out there for single guys, man.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously, the people on social media, I don't think they're always the majority, but they just have the loudest voices. So you were saying, like, oh, it's rough out there, which I agree. But I'm sure there's also, like, still, like, a lot of good people out there, but then maybe they don't have a social media presence. Maybe they aren't yelling on social media that they need this, and this. So I think that's part of it as well. But yeah, like to just, I mean, we've talked about first dates a few times and whatever. But you sent this video, and I just kind of, it's true what she's saying. It's like, dude, like, you don't even know this person, and you're expecting all these crazy things, and it's like, I think social media, for however good it is, also has a lot of flaws to it, and everybody has these crazy expectations now because they think they see fucking celebrities doing this, and so now it's like, oh, I want to be treated this way, and if this person on the first date doesn't do this, then maybe they're not worth it. But I think that's such a wrong way of putting things, wrong way of looking at things. First date should be quick, should be innocent. Like, let's get to know each other. Let's see if we're compatible. Let's see if there's something, if there's chemistry. You don't have to spend $500 on a first date just to determine that.
If I may, say on the first date, you're adamant on saying, talking about children. Like, oh, do you want to have children? If you don't already have, do you plan on having children? Or do you plan on getting married, for example?
Yeah.
When I had said, like, oh, maybe we shouldn't ask on the first date. But to your point, you said, you know what? You should, because you don't want to waste your time.
Sure.
what if women have this approach with the monetary, the income, and it needs to be a certain level because, I mean, historically, we've seen, you know, how difficult it is to kind of get by when your income isn't where it should be. Right? You need to kind of grind to make more money. So it's almost like, well, if you're not making enough right now, I already know that I'm going into, I don't want to say struggle, but not comfortable because you aren't making enough money in order to survive.
But here's my argument against that, because just because I'm not willing to spend $200, $300, $400 on a first date doesn't mean that I'm struggling. It just means like I'm not willing to pay $400, $200, $300 on a first date. So I think you're insinuating that they don't spend $200 on a first date. That means that they can't afford it. That may necessarily not be the case.
Okay,
you know what I'm saying? So I'm not saying the first date we fucking have to sit out there and fucking raw dogging it out there. But just because you're not willing to spend that kind of money on a first date doesn't mean you don't have it.
No, true, right? Very fair. But I think the majority of people who aren't willing to spend more on the first date are those that are getting by with what they're making. You know, like just barely. Yeah. Because if you were making a good enough income where it didn't matter how much you were spending on the first date, and I'm not saying spend $1,000, but where you're not so restricted on even having this conversation, it kind of it's a reflection of your overall income, because if you did make more money, it wouldn't matter how much the first date is. You get me?
The thing is, I think you're like very far. Like if you're making hundreds of thousands of dollars, like, you know, every month or whatever, then sure, maybe $500 on the first date is not a lot. But let's say you make $80,000 a year, which is still a good amount of money.
No, it's not. Not anymore. No, it's not.
But how many people make $80,000 a
year? Yeah, you're right.
And we live in Miami, so $80,000 may not be a lot. But if you make $80,000 and you live in fucking Wisconsin, yeah, you're doing fine. Maybe. Right? You know? But okay, so even if we say $100,000, I still wouldn't want to spend $500 on a first date. Even if I make $120,000, still wouldn't want to pay $500 on a first date.
So play the other video, the TikTok that you said about that guy. Because I kind of want to tie this together.
Yeah.
And I have one more video that I think I sent you that you could play it after. But
what is the most you would spend on a first date? The absolute limit.
Well, I mean, I don't like spending more than $200, but you know, once you get
$200.
Once you get into the second drink territory, then it's like, oh, we're on another spot. You get a little.
You get into the 200 territory. Yeah.
$200. I mean, it also depends too, because $200 in Brickell and Wynwood in the beach. 2 rounds, and you're hitting you're in the not 2 rounds, but maybe like 3-4 rounds.
No, well, I mean, if it's just drinks, but if you're also getting food,
like a snack, easily.
That's easily, easy. Yeah. 2 drinks each, appetizer and dinner.
Yeah,
you're already
over. You're
cutting
it. Plus gratuity and everything.
Plus
like
gratuity,
that. 20%
type shit. No, but it's true.
But yeah, you're there for sure. So and he's like, I don't want to spend more than $200. Doesn't mean I don't have it. Doesn't mean who a lot of people who are they could be frugal, right? But they make bank, a good amount of money, but they're smart with their money. Doesn't mean that they don't want to spend. I think, but you're saying
so then,
from a woman's perspective,
right? I'm trying to get into that, because then a woman can say, well, then, I mean, if you're that frugal, like then there's certain things that I want or that I look forward to that then you're gonna kind of bump heads with me, because you're trying to be frugal when she doesn't want to struggle. So right out the gate, and there's another video that I sent you too that if you got time, you might want to play it too, because it's where they're asking, the girl's like, oh, I want to learn a little bit more about you. It's like this popping of the balloon that if you pop the balloon, then they're X'd out.
Yeah.
Play that video really quick. That way we can kind of tie everything together in this conversation.
Where am I looking?
I think I sent it to you directly.
Me?
Okay. Yes, you directly. Latest one I just sent you.
Yeah, okay.
I'm a personal trainer, and I also own a moving company.
Moving company, okay.
I didn't pop my balloon because I kind of wanted to know more about you too. So you mentioned something about like building together or growing together. I don't know if that means you wanted to go 50-50 or...
If you want to work, you can work.
Okay.
You know, I want to take care of home. That's just how I was raised.
How much do you make a year?
75 to 95, depending.
I'm just going to pop my balloon because I just feel like that's not enough for me. But I feel like everything else was good.
So... 75 to 95,000 a year is not good enough.
It's just I was looking for something different.
Okay, what were you looking for as far as income wise?
I thought it was going to be like 100,000 and more because he owns his own company, right?
I've been owning my own business for about 3 years. It's been 110, then it's been 95, and it's also been 75. So, it fluctuates.
All right, thank you.
All right, okay. All right, let's come back.
Fucking wild, dude.
So to tie us all together, you see, like right out of the gate, the girl's like, okay, well, if you're not making enough, she's probably in her head thinking, well, then we're gonna struggle, knowing, and we're living this. Like it's difficult. We got to make more money in order to survive, especially here in Miami. So it's like for her, just imagine that she's like, well, you are probably clearing 100, maybe with both jobs, with the amount of hours that you're working.
Yeah, no, I clear.
Yeah, okay. So then at that point, and then I mean, it's not like you have all this extra play money,
No.
You're still right.
Yeah,
Then imagine her that she's there. I mean, she's looking for that man to support her, and then even he said that he goes, "Oh, I was raised like I want to take care of home, But it's like she's gonna have to also work in order to survive, especially in this economy. So right out the gate, she wants to know how much you make.
Yeah,
and then that there is some sort of tie to the first date. I mean, not always, but if he was making $250. Then spending $200-300 on the first date to him isn't as hard as someone who's making $75-80, for example.
Right. No,
especially in this economy.
No, I get what you're saying, but like the amount of the amount of people who are making that kind of money are so small. Like you're looking at the top 3% that are making $250,000. Like what would that look like? What do you have to do in order to make that kind of money? Like, have you ever thought about that? Like, what $250,000 a year looks like? Like, a lot of people don't even realize. And this guy owns his own business. He probably works hard. 3 years in, sky's the limit for this guy. And at some point, he probably will clear the type of money that she's probably has in her head right now. And it's like a lot of people, especially a lot of women, they just want this man finished at the peak of it. Okay. And it's like, what the fuck have you done in order to kind of, I don't want to say deserve me at that level? Because now he's been rejected. He's like, fuck, dude, like, I'm not good enough. So he's probably going to think, fuck, I'm not worthy of it or whatever, which is obviously not the case, just because she doesn't kind of see his value. But, I mean, that's a whole other problem, the story that I have a problem with. And the second question is, how much does she make in order to kind of expect a man that makes that kind of money? That bitch doesn't make shit, dude.
No, but I don't think that's the equivalence. I don't think her making money is what's attracting the man. I don't think that's what.
So what would be the
that was gonna be my question to you. That was gonna be my question to you, because the first video that we saw, it's like the girl's like, well, what are you doing? Like, why do you feel so deserving that you feel like you shouldn't be going to a cheesecake factory? Like, what do you bring? Like, what have you done? Like the guy, at least he's taking you out, right? Like he's putting in the effort. You're lucky that he's even taking you anywhere, right? Because who are you? So there's that side, but at the same time, I'm thinking more long term of how women can take in, like, oh, okay, well, you're only making that. How do you expect for us to survive and to build a family and to have a roof over our head together?
Right. But to me, it's like the amount of men that make really good amount of money to sustain that kind of lifestyle that a lot of women want is probably here. The amount of women that are attractive, good looking, blah, 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 young, whatever, are here. So it's like, why do you think you can expect a man that's on that is so limited when you're dime a dozen?
So what's your suggestion? What's your
my suggestion
for women?
For women is to kind of open up your horizon a little bit more and be a little bit more compassionate, understanding,
empathetic,
all of the above. Because like you see a guy making $95,000 a year owning his own business, that brother is doing better than a lot of other people.
Fair.
And I just think you have to come down to earth and realize that, like, I don't know what her expectations are. Clearly above what this guy was bringing in and making, but it's like, what world are you living in? If you realize how few people are actually making that kind of money, I think you'd maybe understand a little bit better and what it would work and patience it takes to kind of grind and make that type of money as a business owner. That's very hard. Right. So it's like, I be more understanding. And a lot of women, they just want that finished man. They don't want to be by a man grinding, working hard, achieving. This guy's a lot further on the road than a lot of other people are. And so to me, it doesn't make sense, bro. Like, it's like, you're lost to me. And if you want to find a guy that makes $250,000 or more, or whatever, good luck finding that guy.
Yeah, because that's what I think. Say this guy who barely clears 100, maybe he does with his business and personal training, whatever. maybe he's a great guy, you know, maybe he's really down to earth and he's awesome, but then you want someone else who makes more. But it's like, what if you don't find him? What if you can't find the man that does make that much money who's attracted to you?
Yeah.
And will be loyal to you and actually cares about you. Because like I feel like that's where it gets lost, right? Where it's like you're putting a dollar amount of what the man should be making in order for him to have your attention.
Right.
But then it's like, are we overlooking other factors or other features, other traits of this person
I feel like a lot of these women, they don't give a shit if the guy is loyal, as long as he has money and he can provide that lifestyle for them. I don't think a lot of them will care, or they will kind of look the other way. We've talked about this too, but it's like you expect a man to make that kind of money and be just loyal to you, be good, be kind, be compassionate.
It exists. They do exist.
I mean, they do exist, of course. Out of all the world's population, there are people out there like that. But the chances of you finding one of those guys are one in a million.
I think it's more of what are we overlooking in the qualities that you want in a man?
What is it that really matters, right?
Yeah, but that you're choosing to pick the monetary amount of the income over all these other qualities that you probably want in a man. Yep. You know, so then it's like, if you want a man that also, like, he's loving, compassionate, cares about you, supportive, all the qualities you want in a man, but doesn't make the money that he wants, like, okay, so you X him out. What are the odds? Like, think of the pool of those men who do make the money that you need.
I think it's okay to have high expectations to want someone who's on the same level as you, maybe a little bit higher, but as long as you're kind of bringing value to the relationship in whatever way that may look like to you. But just looking good, being pretty, having tits, having an ass, that's not gonna get him. That's not gonna keep a good man.
It's not gonna keep a good man.
Not gonna keep a good man. You have to have other aspects of your character, your personality, your ambition, your mentality. There's so many other metrics by which you can measure a person, just than your looks. If that's all you have, and that shit's gonna fade eventually too.
You know, it's a shame because they say that divorce rates for first time marriages is like what 50%. I think is what
50. Yeah, a little bit over 50.
And I mean, I see videos like this because, like, again, we always go back to our own personal experiences within our relationships of how different it is versus like what we see.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just like the expectations that women have of men. It's almost like it's almost as if when they say how men, they don't marry the woman that they love, but they marry the woman that's just
when they're ready. Yeah.
Right, and it's like. I don't know. Like, are we picking the right thing? Are we going after the right things? Because if divorce rates are so high, would that be the reason? Like, we're just choosing the wrong things?
Yeah. I guess we're choosing the wrong things to consider and value.
Because, I mean, think of this woman that she's like, no, yeah, like, I don't want to, like, he doesn't make enough. Yeah. Okay, so then you find the guy who does make enough. Then you choose, he marries you because he can, and you're like, yeah, well, that's enough. He makes the money I need. But it's like, what substance is in that relationship to nurture, to grow together, like as a couple? Because I feel like the priorities are just not there. So then it's like, it's almost like, well, we're marrying for the wrong reasons. There's no, it's obvious is why we're divorcing at such a high rate.
But also then you look at the things like, what if something happens? What if that money that I'm making, what if that no longer exists? What if something happens? I lose my job and business goes under, etc. X, Y, and Z. I get sick. I can't work. Would you leave me because now I don't have that type of money? And then if you only consider me because I have that money, and then now I no longer do, then yeah, like that would jeopardize our relationship. Do I really want to spend the rest of my life with this person?
Right.
Because then we get married, death do us part. Is it death do us part, or until the finances stop making sense to you? At that point, it's like, why am I with you? Why are we with each other? I want to be with somebody who doesn't just value me based off the money that I'm bringing into this relationship or marriage. So it sucks. It definitely, like you were saying at the beginning, it's rough out there. I don't think that woman speaks for all of the women out there, obviously not, but probably for a considerable amount, maybe more so in Miami or LA or New York or some of these cities than in others. But it's tough, you know, and I think women have to kind of, based on the first video that we watched, they have to come down to reality and really look out there and see, like, what am I asking for? What am I able to contribute? Why would a man like this want to choose me? But also, it's like, and it's funny because a lot of those women that have all these expectations, and they're young, they're in their prime, but as they get older, have you ever seen those videos where their standards, so to speak, become less and less?
I'll
and
just
less.
take anyone, yeah.
Yeah. At that point, you're in your mid-30s, or
because you couldn't find that guy.
Because you couldn't find that guy, exactly. And now you're like, fuck, you're kind of
now
like,
that you're stubborn, arrogant, single bitch that didn't find a guy who actually cares.
And it's like,
you were there while he had the money, and probably still has the money, but you're already damaged goods at that point.
Yeah, and so there was a video that I've watched from this guy. What was his name? He passed away. Black guy, very controversial. Kevin Samuels. Kevin Samuels. And he was talking about that. It's like, dude, when you see that age, you got to put that shit on clearance because that's it. Your prime has passed, you know. And so funny how that works when you have all these crazy expectations. You're 24 years old, 23, 25. You feel like, yeah, I'm on top of the world, but then you realize those expectations are what jeopardize you from finding a really, really good guy. And once you hit 30, 32, 33, you're like, oh, shit, where's all the good guys out there? Well, motherfuckers are taken, you know, taken by women who saw them for who they were, you know, and more than just a wallet. So,
yeah, and I think of it's almost like an X, whereas men's value when they're younger, it's very similar to how women's value when they're older is, where there's little value. And I hate to say that because it sounds so fucked up to like say that about women, like, oh, as you get older, you lose your value. But at that point, you kind of want to lock somebody up and be in a relationship, a happy relationship with someone who actually cares about you. Because a man's value over time does increase. Ideally, obviously, if he continues grinding and growing and, you know, in his career and he makes more money and he becomes more successful, as he gets older and works harder with more experience, brings in more money, his value increases. A woman, when she's younger, you know, kind of the inverse of a young man who has no value at a younger age, has all the value when she's younger. And as she gets older, there's still value, but I guess we can all agree it's not as valuable as
but it's like
same way how we can agree that an older man with experience and money and success has more value than a younger man that doesn't have anything. He's obviously that older man is more valuable than a young man. Same way a younger woman will be more valuable than an older woman.
But it's just very like it's weird how at the beginning you kind of had to disclose like, oh, it's not fair, or it kind of sounds bad that we have to kind of put it that way. But it's like no one bats an eye when a man is being judged by how much resources he has.
Right.
Like first thing they want, how much money does he make? Da da da. So now we're objectifying a man in the sense that I just want to know how much money he makes. But if you do the same thing with a woman, as she gets older, she loses value. Oh, you can't say that. But you're pretty much insinuating that if they don't have resources financially, they're less valuable. Also not fair to me. So
there's the other video that I sent you a little while ago where the guy, I'm going to send it to you now really quick to your personal page and open it up. It kind of ties into a little bit of what we're saying. Go ahead and play it.
Yeah.
Does size matter in a guy?
Yeah, if you're short,
So here, hold this here. We're going to measure your waist. Oh my, Jacob.
No.
42 inches.
Fuck, you guys are fucking weird as fuck.
You judge guys based on something they can't change. You're weird.
It's true.
So it's basically essentially what you just said. And it's like, oh, we have to be careful with how we, you know, talk about this. But it's like, same thing. Like women are like, oh, I need this from the guy. And if he doesn't, he's a fucking loser and a bum.
Exactly.
And then it's like, okay, well, let's reverse the role really quick.
Let's
try that with you. Let's see where you stand.
We are weird, right? Because we're kind of measuring you based on something that you do change. You are able to change
in this case.
Age you can, but
just think of how you're there, like judging a guy, and free, and it's all cool. When yes, go girl, slay, queen, get yours, the sisterhood. And the guy's like, you're fat,
or you're old. Oh my God,
you're a piece of shit. Like she still has.
Be fair. See how that works? Try to be objective. Yeah.
So what's the moral of this episode?
Moral of this episode is
come down to earth.
Come down to earth.
Be empathetic.
Yeah,
and passionate,
and find a man and so who's hardworking, who's willing to sacrifice, you know, his life and be able to provide whatever he can for you. And if he's out there working, grinding, that's really what matters, you know? I'm not saying you need to date a fucking bum who makes fucking, you know, $20,000 a year, but you have to, you know, be realistic and be able to date somebody who get away from all that internet shit that you see online. Oh, he has to make X amount of money, blah, 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 100,000, 6 figures. All that is bullshit, dude. Just find a good guy who's willing to work hard, to provide a lifestyle for you, a life for you and your family that suits you, and that's it, you know? Like, there's so much more out there than to just find a guy who's rich, you know? Like, that's just my sense to it, my take on it.
Yeah, I think finding a guy who puts who kind of puts you on a pedestal, but not monetary, almost like more with purpose.
Yeah.
Like when you find a man who maybe he's not making the money that you require, but if he's working hard in order to provide for a future for you because he cares for you and he wants what's best for you, and he's sacrificing his time in order for you to have that, even if it's not the money or at least the amount, just know that the character is there because it's always for you. So the minute that the day comes that he does make it, right? He's making the money that you're looking for.
Yeah.
Guess where that's going to go? To you, because that's all he's been working for.
Yep.
And I think that that's maybe a different way of seeing it.
Exactly.
Where it's like if you find a man that's willing to work hard for you, the moment he makes the money you're looking for, now you get to live like a queen with the man that you invested in.
Yeah.
As opposed to just trying to buy high and God forbid something happens, it doesn't work out, or he treats you like shit because you're just looking for the money. Although I think that it's kind of fucked up because I almost think like women, they'll do that. They'll just find a guy who makes a lot of money. And worst case scenario, they divorce him because it's not what they want. And then they just take half his shit anyways.
Yeah.
It's like a fucking pyramid scheme. Like a fucking, I think that's the big scam. That's the biggest scam. That is fucked up. But it's the world we live in. So those are the rules. That's the game. Learn to play it.
Yeah, let us know your thoughts and what's your maximum amount of money you would spend on a first date?
Yeah, we've been diving around everywhere. We didn't even talk about that. What do you think is a maximum amount of money you should spend on the first date?
I think the most I would want to spend, I think 200 is the most I would like. That seems
really?
Like yes. If I'm single, if I am interested in a girl, huh?
That's the thing, man. I don't even want to be single. Just
know,
just the thought of that. Because imagine, man, you're going out, just to see if there's any chemistry. But I think you're spending $200 to find out if there's chemistry.
But the thing is, I wouldn't just go out just with anybody. Like I would be very selective of who I'm gonna go out on a date with.
So okay, but
so then
all right. Like, so then that's not really like we're talking about a first date.
Okay, but like I don't think anybody should just. I mean, you've always said like, oh, people should go out there and date often, right? That was
no. Okay, I'll give you a scenario. Okay, look. Okay. You're single.
Yeah.
Right. Knock on wood in case Claudia's on the other side. She's there with the gun. You're single, right? Yeah. And you see this girl, right, at coffee shop, the fucking supermarket. You're like, yo, I may not see this bitch ever again.
Sure.
Sorry. I may not see this girl ever again. The only way that, and she's beautiful. You're like, fuck, man, what if she's amazing? All these things. Like, you kind of have to go up to her.
Yeah.
You know, maybe you'll go up, you'll get her number if you feel ballsy. Maybe it works out. You know, you're able to kind of strike conversation. Yeah. Whatever. You get her number. Start talking to her. A first date will eventually come. What do? It's not like someone that you've known, that you've been talking to, that you've hung out with before. You just met this girl.
Yeah, you met them. And also when you met them, you're not going to be going back, texting back and forth for like
no, you gotta go out and
met each other. You already met her in person, get her number. Then you got to meet her again.
Immediately.
Yeah.
You can't let that marinate, dude. You gotta
no
strike when the iron's hot.
I think 200. Yeah, I think $200.
200.
Yeah, but then if it didn't work out, I'm not gonna go on another date next week. I have to fucking budget that into my finances. But I think 200, especially in Miami, dude, is because you know it depends also where you're going. I think 200 is the high end. I don't want to.
You think that you can maybe? I wonder if we should clip this part. Women. If you started talking to a guy and he prefaces the first date saying, hey, look, on the first date, my goal is just to get to know you. I ain't spending shit on you unless we get a second date. The second date is when I really want to wow you. But the first date, I want to make sure that you're someone I want to wow. And same thing. Like, I want you to actually like me. And if you think that we can do a second date, then I think that will merit, obviously, word it the way you want. But maybe the second date is when we'll really do something because I want to make sure that we even like each other. I don't even know that.
I feel like a first date that's good, great way of putting it. It's a good.
I don't know how you'd word it, but let me know what works.
Yes. But I also feel like a first date is a good way to kind of weed out some of the people that you're not compatible with. Maybe you go, you want to grab coffee or whatever. Oh no, I don't do coffee dates. I only want to go blah blah blah. Okay, then we're not for each other. So I think a first date shouldn't be expensive because that way you can kind of weed out who's for you, who isn't. Maybe you
values
terrible vibe, maybe completely opposite values. You sit down with this person and you feel like, what the fuck did I agree to?
Yeah.
Then it's like, fuck. Because I before, sorry to cut you off.
No, I'm sorry.
I went on one date once and it was honestly the worst date I've ever been in my life, dude. The minute I sat down, I realized like this was a mistake.
Really?
And
where did you go?
We went to this. It was like we got drinks, we got like some snacks, like some bites and stuff like that. It was like a restaurant, kind of outdoor. I think we went for like a game. It was like a sportsy kind of Tap 42 kind of vibe.
Whatever, sure.
Right. And the minute we sat down, I'm like, I am regretting this.
Really?
Like, I picked her up, and it was just so completely different, like two worlds colliding. Like it was a friend of a coworker. We used to work together at some capacity.
Yeah.
Whatever. That's kind of why we even were in the same kind of realm of
the
people that we know each other that we know. But it was awful. One day, never saw each other again. Luckily, and yeah, it was just awful. So if I would have imagined spending $200 on that day, especially at the time, I would have fucking slit my wrist.
But you know what's funny? Because you know what I think a woman would say?
Yeah.
At least I got a good meal out of it.
Yeah.
It was a bad day, but at least I went somewhere nice.
Exactly. No, not for
Fucked up, dude. Yeah, it ain't gonna happen.
Not with me.
You gotta earn your stripes. I think that's a good way to do it. I think the first day, like you just gotta address it. Be like, listen, I like eating in nice places, but the first date, I want to make sure that we're even compatible.
Yeah.
Well, let's go somewhere where it's chill. If that makes sense, the second date, let's do something fun. Women, let me know what would work for you. Would that work for you? Do you think that's fair, or like, are you like, yo, no, that first date, he's gotta wow me. I want to be impressed.
Yeah, I would impress you, but just not on the first date. Second.
But then you're like, oh, the second date is gonna be super nice, and you take her to fucking Chili's.
No, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, you go somewhere nice.
You just can only go up from the first date. So maybe
choose wisely.
Or whatever, and then
choose wisely.
Climb. Okay, let us know your thoughts.
Let us know your thoughts.
See ya.
Peace out. Bye. Love you.